Welcome back to Business Class. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode. Today, I've got another amazing guest in the plane seat. So today, I'm super excited to be joined by one of my personal favourite female founders, Daisy May Kelly. Hi,
Hello.
Daisy. Thanks for joining me.
I'm so excited to be in the seat.
Are you comfy?
Yeah, I'm going on holiday.
Okay,
this will be, I think, my
amazing.
first ever business class flight, so I'm thrilled.
Me too, actually. We're cosplaying for now.
Yeah, it's going to happen soon.
It is going to happen.
Yeah.
We're manifesting it. So Daisy is the founder of Glow For It, which is the viral beauty brand that's taken the UK beauty scene by storm and is known for their crazy popular lash growth serum. I actually need to say, I first used it in 2021.
Really?
Yeah, like years ago.
Yeah.
And that's how long I've known about the brand. It's one of those brands where I feel like it's been around, but a lot of people will probably be saying to you right now, like, oh, it's an overnight success. But it's like you do not see like all the stuff that's gone on over the years. I should just add that in. So Daisy launched Glow For It during lockdown after suffering with anxiety and picking at your eyelashes, and you wanted a lash serum solution that didn't exist in the market yet. She's hit multiple insane career milestones, like hitting multiple seven figures, winning awards, recently being featured on the BBC, crazy, and making £100,000 in a day on TikTok Shop. If you've ever wondered how to grow a business fast, authentically, and with purpose, this episode is for you. Welcome to the show, Daisy.
Thank you.
So I always like to ask people, when someone is like reading something like that out to you, how does it feel? Like, are you someone that's like, amazing, or are you like, it doesn't really feel real?
I was going to say out of body experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so cool, the person that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's not me.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult when you're going through the motions of it day to day. Like
Yeah.
you probably hear this all the time, but it's very rare to kind of
Yeah.
take a step back and just look at the process and the journey.
Yeah, and it's always like the best bits, isn't it? Like people like really glamorize doing this and like
Yeah.
such a glam job, and it's so fun, and people think, you know, you're absolutely wadded, and it's just like, no, it's just not the case.
Yeah, I also think sometimes on podcasts it can get a bit like, and then we achieved this, and then
Yeah.
this was the next milestone. And as you say, that although is probably exciting for people listening, it's not a reality
No.
of the day to day. And often I think as founders, we don't even take the time to acknowledge those moments
No,
ourselves. So often when you
never.
say stuff like that, I'm like, oh God, yeah, that did
Yeah.
happen, because I'm not living in that space,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
otherwise we wouldn't have a
No,
business.
you always want the next thing. So you're
Yeah.
like, right now I need to achieve like 8 figures or 9
Yeah.
figures. Like it's never enough for us. So I know you spoke about your story before, but I wanted to understand a bit more about, you know, your story, your background, and the anxiety that you were dealing with, how that led to you creating the serum. And also just like, I find it fascinating that you've gone from like being at like drama school to creating a lash serum, and like the process behind that. It sounds very scientific.
Yeah, it was really, I guess, a 360 in terms of like my life and priorities. But bit of perspective, I went to drama school for sixth form, so did my A levels, but also was at a kind of dance theatre school, and then got into a well-known drama school called Guildford School of Acting, which at the time was like all I ever wanted to achieve. I had these dreams of going on the West End, being in theatre for the rest of my life. And at that time, while I was at sixth form, that's when I started to develop these weird kind of tics and habits to cope with what was a very stressful environment. You're in a leotard every day, you're doing dance, you know, you're constantly competing with yourself, but also your peers, because it's a highly competitive industry. And I feel like I just was looking at myself in a very different light to what I'd ever thought about myself before.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've grown up in a very amazing environment where my mum really instilled in me that you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. And then suddenly I was in this environment that you can still work really hard and not achieve. So it was a really kind of difficult shift. But that's basically the environment that I started picking out my lashes as more than just a lash has fallen
like
out,
every
as
now and then.
oh my gosh, I'm feeling anxious or nervous about this audition, or having to sing in front of the rest of the year, and I'd actively pick them out and make wishes. Then when I went on to do my degree in musical theatre, that kind of carried across with me to that even more intense environment. So yeah, it's always been a weird little habit of mine, but definitely while I was in that space, it developed to more of a obsession.
Oh, this is a problem now.
This is a problem.
Yeah.
I had lots of things around like touching wood. If I look back now, I'm like, it was actually a crazy, crazy time.
Yeah.
And like intrusive thoughts and things. So I think I was very impressionable at that age, and just kind of that highly competitive space wasn't necessarily the most healthy for me.
Yeah, and then where do you even start with going like, I want to make a serum? Like, how do you even make a lash growth serum? I just don't get how you do that.
No, it's true, and neither did I. And I've obviously learned so much in the space of time growing the business, but I definitely had no background or experience in doing it.
Yeah.
I'd obviously, as I say, done this degree. I was in my 3rd year of university when we went into COVID.
Yeah.
So sent home, was doing ballet classes from my mum's kitchen cabinets and things like that. It was a wild time, but it was probably the first time in my life where I've just had some extra space to think about potential career options and if I was actually still truly happy in this industry. And I think I'd started to contemplate those sort of ideas. I'd graduated with my agent, and I just remember the idea of them sending through auditions and self-tapes. I think I wouldn't even want to do that if I did get the job. And I was like, this is a problem, because this should be my passion. I should be so motivated by these opportunities. And I was thinking, I don't even think this space makes me happy anymore. So by the time we also reached lockdown and I'd gone back home, that's when kind of my picking had got to its worst. I'd worn eyelash extensions, wouldn't leave without cluster lashes on my lashes. And by the time they all came off and I was just faced with the kind of raw reality of my lashes, but also like my own mental, I was like, there's a lot of work to be done here. So the lashes were kind of an obsession, but also in a positive way, like something positive came from it. And I decided it was time to try and grow them back naturally. That's what led me to look, without kind of intentionally knowing, at the industry and the products that were available on the market. I've got very sensitive skin. My mum's got eczema prone skin. So for us, we're always really cautious and careful about the products we're using, especially around our eyes. And that's where I was kind of being fed these constant, I don't want to say horror stories, but scary experiences that people have had from using certain products around their eyes and the ingredients that lots of serums on the market contain. So that's what, for some reason, set my mind going, I
could do this.
I could do that myself. And still to this day, I don't know what it was that made me think, I can do that. But obviously something did. And I think time, circumstance, space, if we hadn't have gone into lockdown, I probably would have continued on the momentum of that theatre industry.
Crazy.
So everything kind of happens for a reason, doesn't
So
it?
do you think you've been like, some people are almost instilled with that like entrepreneurial spirit, or do you think it's sort of like I've just had to become an entrepreneur, like it's sort of you've had to learn as you go sort of thing?
I think it's a balance of both. I've definitely grown up. My mum's been CEO of multiple companies, so I grew up with a really, really strong female presence. And my mum had always instilled in me that if you lead with kindness, that's how you can kind of get the furthest, but get the respect of people around you as well. So definitely instilled a lot of core values in me, aside from just kind of business mindset, but just independence, self-worth. And I think the big one, I could just achieve anything. In her mind, she used to say, like, let's practice your Oscar winning speech. And I thought in my head, okay, because one day I could win that Oscar, which I think is a really beautiful thing to instill, especially in a child. Like, there's so many people in the world, teachers, friends, peers, that are going to tell you that you can't achieve things. So if you have that self-resilience, that's going to kind of get you even further in life. So, I definitely had that core sense of belief, but by no means did I have the experience or knowledge of what I was, stepping into.
Like a mammoth.
Yeah.
She was a mammoth. It was huge.
Yeah. But also there's a beauty in that. I think if I knew how huge it was going to be and the experience and the responsibility that I'd be taking on, I would have been way too scared to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, it feels so out of depth. And I think it's quite like a beautiful thing where we don't know what we're like entering into. And it's such a challenge to, like, what I've struggled with the most is like aligning with, like your core values, who you are as a person, but also having all these massive responsibilities, being responsible for people's salaries, like is a huge thing. I always love to speak to young founders about like, how do you remain being kind, being yourself, aligning with your values, but getting things done, like being seen as a good leader and not getting lost in, you know, that world where we're being told like, you can't be too nice and you've got to be firm. Like, how do you balance that, would you say?
I think it's difficult, and especially as young women, I think we have to kind of take a moment to comprehend the additional, I guess, challenge that leads us to face, because definitely I've had that sense of, oh, you're a young, naive female. And it's something that I've really just had to get over, because I realized that I was believing that in myself because it was constantly not being outlandishly fed to me, but I was feeling that sense from people that I would speak to or rooms that I'd find myself in, almost a bit of, oh, it's lucky that she's managed to get here. And I was like, obviously there is elements of luck involved. I'm not naive to that, but equally it's a lot of hard work and resilience that gets you to these places. So I think I had to do a real shift in my own mindset and narrative around who I am in this space, and that I deserve to be in this space. But equally it kind of comes back to those core values that were instilled in me in an early age, like definitely from my mum and my grandma. Was always just, my grandma always said to me, as long as you're kind, as long as you're kind to people. And I just think there is such a power in leading with kindness and respect. And I think often I almost face that challenge of feeling like I need to be more of this authority figure. And I actually just don't think, one, that would suit my management style or my leadership style, but also I don't think that would get the most out of my team. Like, I think they genuinely respect the fact that they can come to me with areas of concern and that they'll be listened to, but also that, you know, that expectation is there not only from me, but for themselves. You know, I want to see them doing the best for themselves and for the business.
So how's it been? When did you get to a point where you were like, okay, this has gone from, you know, 2 or 3? Is it like mainly been this year or last year when there was like a boom and it's like a big team that you're now responsible for? Like, when was the quickest amount of growth for you where you felt this is getting scary and very real?
Yeah, I would say there's been a few stages. The first kind of 2 years of the business was very much, I guess, almost side hustle hobby that got out of control. I was still doing full-time teaching job. I was packaging orders in the kitchen. Like, that very much was a challenging time because I was having to juggle so much, but equally it wasn't my sole responsibility source of income. And also I was only responsible for myself and the business. So it was a very different sense of pressure to what I feel now. I would say this last year has been the biggest shift. So this time last year, we only had 3 full-time employees, myself included, which actually for the sales and the revenue we were doing, we had a very good head count on turnover. But yeah, this year we've invested heavily in bringing in the team and the experience to take us to that next level. So rather than kind of slowly plateauing, we can see that continuous growth, which has to be my responsibility for the business. So yeah, now we're a team of 12, and to go from 3 to 12 in really, I would say more like the space of 9 to 10 months has been a real shift in my role, my responsibilities, the pressure I feel, the stress I feel like I'm under. And I do see a real correlation in those two. It's exciting because we're bringing people in who have got a level of experience I never dreamt that the business I started in my mum's kitchen would be able to employ. But also, it's a lot of pressure and responsibility.
What for you at the minute would you say has been so far the toughest thing you've been through, where you've really sat there and thought, how am I supposed to like navigate this?
There's been a lot, really. I think we're all, or I'm definitely, and I think you are as well, experiencing this for the first time. So almost that self-pressure you put on yourself to know the answers. I think one of the things I've challenged with this year is people coming to me with answers that I don't have anymore. You know, I used to have the answers, but now it's my responsibility to find them and making sure that I'm empowering the team to find the answers for themselves, so it doesn't have to all kind of be fed through me. I've been listening to your previous episodes, and I know it's kind of a repetitive story, but definitely for me, the team is what keeps me up at night. You know, I don't stay up at night thinking about our product. I know I do. I put the work into the product, and I know it's there and it's stable and it works. The team, when you're dealing with people, like, and they're people you care about, that keeps me up at night. And just the constant moving parts. You know, we as a business are on such a fast scale of growth, which is so exciting, but the role and position someone was in 6 months ago might not exist in another 6 months. And we all have to kind of almost breed this diverse workforce where people are happy to jump across departments and it's all hands on deck. And equally, that's a challenge now where we're hiring people with experience who maybe expect to sit within their department, and it really doesn't exist like that in my business.
But like, we're just sort of making it up every week, like it's developing and growing, and I think that's the best bit, but the scariest bit. And I think, I don't know about you, but it always feels like everything's very like temporary. Like I think this could just go one day. Like it's almost, you know, it feels so good that you're like, it could just go. But I think that you have to learn so much from it, and it's our first time making these mistakes, so we're going to learn huge lessons from it. And I think as well that I was speaking to my dad, actually, who he runs a big team, and he was saying that it's actually a good thing that we're worrying about team, because it means we care. He was like, the fact that you're worrying and, you know, you are staying up at night and you are trying to seek advice and guidance to make the workplace a better place, it shows already that you're a better leader than, you know, most people, because some people just, they are emotionless and they switch off. And I think I always put a lot of pressure on myself to not show emotion, and, you know, I don't want to cry in front of them and I don't want to do this and that. But I think it's a good thing that we care, because I think it shows that we want it to be the best place for them, if that makes sense.
100%. And I think that shows in itself, like, we've never had an issue with retention in the business. Quite literally the opposite. People really, really want to stick around because it's an exciting space. And equally, everyone in the team feels like they are having direct impact on this baby, really. What started off as my baby, everyone feels that they are able to have direct impact, which I think is something people lose when they go to big companies and big
very
conglomerates.
Corporate.
You know, you're not kind of feeling that impact. But I do see that as a real pressure and responsibility.
It is a huge pressure. And then I feel like we've got to speak about, for you guys, the impact you've had on TikTok Shop, and the TikTok world this year has been like phenomenal and crazy. So in terms of how you hit that mark of making 100K in a day, that I feel like now, I mean, I've told two people about that. I'm like, have you heard about Daisy? She's doing 100K in a day, because it's just like such a good case study for how powerful it is. So, basic question, how did you do it? What have you learned that you sort of can and can't do on the platform? I'd love to ask first for people that are thinking about getting onto TikTok Shop, and just how powerful it is.
No, thank you. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I guess, top tips I can share. But equally, it's such an interesting feeling for me, because even when you say that, in the world of TikTok Shop, that is still quite minimal. You know, like crazy. We've got Mitchell, we've got P. Louise, like people making millions in a live.
Insane.
But equally, if I compare that to, you know, making 100K a day on Shopify, you know, that's a challenge.
People won't make that in a year or a couple of years, and you've done that in a day. It's crazy.
So it's such an impactful, powerful platform. And I also think it's one that people are potentially sleeping on the magnitude of the opportunity. That also being said, like, we put a lot of internal resource into the platform. I think it is one of those channels that if you go all in, you will see the best results from it. If you start to kind of, I don't know, fiddle around with it and post a few things here and there, it's not a surprise that you're not going to be seeing those levels of results. So we and TikTok themselves look at the platform in kind of 4 core areas. So you've got your own branded content, so the content that we're posting onto our own channel. You've got ad performance, obviously. Then you've got lives, and then you've got affiliate. And what I often hear people do is maybe hone in on one of those avenues and really give it everything, which I think is a strong strategy. But when you look at all of those 4 together, I think that's when you're going to see the most direct impact.
Yeah.
For example, when we first started on the channel, 98% of our revenue was being drawn from own branded content. Like, I knew exactly the angle, how to apply that serum on my lashes and how to make sure people purchased. And I could just churn through that content. It wasn't sustainable for me because obviously on one hand knew the more content I posted, the more revenue we'd make, but also that was so reliant on me feeding that algorithm, which isn't sustainable as we grow. Whereas now, literally dead on month, 50% of our revenue comes between affiliate. So 50% is drawn from affiliate, which is amazing because you've got thousands of me being able to post that content regularly to their own niche audience and know exactly how to feed that audience. They're getting that commission bonus as an incentive, but equally that's sharing brand awareness for us, and kind of product reputation, etc. And then that other split is across lives and then also our own branded content. So when you've got a little bit more diversification, I guess, across the areas within the channel, you're not so reliant on that single stream. So that's been a big, powerful tool for us. But obviously in the day that you're specifically talking about, we had a big 12-hour live. So that is also now a very big, powerful part of our strategy.
And how do you make it so it's not reliant on you? So I know we've dipped our toes into it a bit, and I feel like they perform better when I'm on it because people know me as the face. So how have you made it so it's not totally reliant on you? And do you notice a shift in sales when you're on it versus not on it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, still to this day, in the back end, they would love me to do a live every single day. So to put it into perspective, for the month of November, we're going live for 9 to 12 hours, 7 days a week, which is a huge, huge commitment. But equally for us now, it almost operates as its own kind of business entity. We have a live studio, we have a host of live presenters, we'll put in a rota, people fill in their availability. It would be like us having a physical storefront, and it's just never unmanned. It makes sure there's constantly people there, basically as a customer service route to answer any queries people have about the products, and also to drive revenue and sales and conversions as well. So it's really, really powerful. And for us as a day-to-day, in terms of overheads in an hourly fee, you know, it's one of our highest returning kind of channels, especially if you compare it to, you know, an ads channel where you've got cost per acquisitions growing and growing. We can sustain that same hourly fee for a presenter. You know, you can make some crazy sales in an hour. So it's a really low cost but high return potential channel, which is why I think it's powerful for people to look into more. But on the subject, of becoming dependent on me, I do feel like the lives are probably an area where we've managed to really find some diversification in terms of it not being so reliant on me to be able to drive those sales. And I think that comes from building profiles and awareness of other people and members within your team. We also now have this kind of Looker studio at the post any of our big kind of KLSs, so like our big live series 12-hour showcases, and that will break down the return per presenter and rank your presenters at the end of those 12 hours. It also breaks down, you know, product, if you change sets, if you change costume, it will break down everything. But it's so great for me to look at that and see, yes, I'm still up there, which is also a nice feeling, but Thomas, other members of our team, also we can plug them in and know that they're going to be as converting as me, because we've really built up their reputation and relationships with the customer, so they feel as satisfied kind of communicating with them as they were with me, which is obviously a nice kind of pressure off the shoulders.
Why do you think it does work, TikTok Shop? Like, do you think it is that connection and that like human, you know, you can just ask questions and you feel like you know the brand and you're like friends with them almost? Why would you say you think it is so popular right now?
Yeah, I think it's the power of connection. And I think almost that is what social media was initially built on, to be able to connect and communicate with your peers when you're not physically present with them. But obviously the landscape of that has shifted so dramatically on other channels. You know, you feel almost more disconnected from your friends than you did before. Whereas TikTok is a very different channel, and it's very much based on that power of connection and communication. And I think live is the most active channel that you can do that through. And I think that's the beauty of it for me. Often, like, people will ask, why did you decide to put yourself as the face of the brand? For me, it wasn't an active decision. The brand lived through me. Our core values live through me. The easiest way for me to communicate that with our customer is through me in video format. And then to be able to do that live on a channel like TikTok through the live shopping, and be able to create that genuine connection. You know, we'll have people sat on the 12-hour lives from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. in the comments for the 12 hours. Like, not just a few people, like 10s, 20, 30 people who will be there for that whole time. Because you do build genuine friendships and connections.
And then I bet it'll be like, they're like, oh, nice to see you, and how's this, and like asking like, you can't buy connection like that. Like, there's nothing else like it right now, is there?
And it's been really nice for us this year, because we launched into Boots this year, which was a huge milestone for us. But one of the big things we did when we launched was we did this Boots roadshow. So we went round to different Boots across the UK, which was great for us because we're a London-based company. So often a lot of our events will take place in London, but we went to Cardiff, we went to Edinburgh, we went to Manchester, over to Dublin as well. And actually just seeing the people who came out to support in that roadshow was incredible. And I'd say 90% of those people I knew and recognised by name from the TikTok lives. I was like,
crazy.
Charlotte, you've driven 2 hours to come and see us. So good to see you. How's your baby? I know everything about her life. Because that's a real connection. And when you're doing an online transaction through a Shopify store, that is so disconnected from your customer. Obviously, we try and we work hard to build that. But I just think it's a really, really powerful tool that if you get right, I mean, everyone harps on about the power of community. It could not be more rife in that specific channel.
It's huge.
Yeah.
What's like, I haven't, because I obviously am in service based, not product. So I've never experienced someone coming up to you, say, I use your products. Like, what does that even feel like to be like, you've helped transform someone through using your products?
It is the most incredible feeling. And I think because for me personally, I knew that growing my lashes back, I know it sounds quite trivial, but for me, it really was pivotal in building my confidence back. And, you know, my confidence has grown as the business has grown. I'm a completely different person. I wouldn't have sat here with you 3 years ago. There's no way. I would have been shaking outside the door. But I feel like I've grown as a person in confidence through the business and building these connections and seeing the power of our products on genuine people within our community. So, I mean, an example is we've got this amazing customer called Megan, and she went through chemotherapy and lost all her lashes, brows and hair. And I think she'd first DM'd me actually saying, this is what I'm going through. And I sent her out some gifted products because I was like, if these can help grow your confidence back, then it's worth it for me. And now we voice note, you know, on a weekly basis. She sends me Christmas cards, and just that connection, because I know, and she shared with me how genuinely impactful these products have been to the way she feels about herself. There is no greater feeling for me. So I guess that is probably the proudest area within the business.
And how would you say, because TikTok is such a huge part of your business, how do you ensure that it's not too reliant on it? I suppose that's the question now, because it's like you figured it out, it does really well, but with, you know, what happened in the US, was it even this year, last year, that it was going to go, would that be a massive cut for you guys? Like, how do you sort of make sure it's not too reliant, or is it just one of those where you have to like sort of ride the wave, it's working now, but we have to plan a little bit ahead sort of thing?
There's a balance of this. I've got a few answers to your question. I feel like each question you ask, I'm like, da 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 da. But for us, I definitely recognised an over-reliance on the platform. However, it's very difficult to pull away from a platform where you're seeing such great return and results.
Why would you not? Like, you're not just going to leave it for no reason. Like, you have to stick with it if it's working.
And there is that essence of riding that wave and that opportunity while it's in front of you and allowing that ripple effect to infiltrate kind of your other channels.
Yeah.
So for us, we initially were really viewing our TikTok customer as a completely separate customer to our Shopify or our own D2C online business.
Yeah.
And actually, the more we've dived into it, we found that almost TikTok just acts as that kind of brand awareness, opening top of funnel acquisition to a customer. And then they're actually naturally feeding through to our online. So I'm sure by us pulling back from that platform, that would directly correlate to our own online sales, even if I was to take that budget and put it into online.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got to view it, I guess, with a bigger picture of that overarching halo effect. Yes, we are reliant on that channel because it does, you know,
it works,
drive a
doesn't it?
lot of our sales and revenue as a business, but it also has that, you know, halo effect onto our other channels. And then even I mentioned it, we launched into Boots, but that was because they recognised they were doing a project to launch kind of viral brands in store, but they recognised the power of that algorithm to drive people into physical store. So breaking that barrier between online to in-store retail, which is so powerful.
Because it makes sense, doesn't it? It's like, because you're putting so much into TikTok, if touch wood it went anywhere, you've got such good brand awareness. Everyone knows about Glow for it. So it's like, if it went, we'd just go to the website and buy it if you want to return for it, sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I feel like it's not the end of the world, really.
I also went to a talk recently, and Trini Woodall was talking, and we kind of went through this year. She described it as she is the head of the dragon in Chinese New Year, and kind of the rest of the team are in the tail of the dragon.
Yeah.
And this is what I felt like. I was getting really paranoid about our reliance on TikTok. And I told all the team to shift their focus towards our online and make sure we're optimizing that to acquire as many customers as possible, because at the time we were treating them as very separate kind of entities and customer bases. And she said, when you do that, the whole tail goes boom, 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 and trickles round.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, your head's back over on TikTok thinking, hang on a second, what's happened to that channel over there? And then you're going back again.
Yeah.
And actually, it needs to be your responsibility as the leader to have that overarching picture and to say, yes, we need to focus on these other channels and kind of, you know, boost those up. But we cannot let that top performing channel for us begin to slip, because otherwise the same's going to happen over here.
Yeah.
So it was just quite an interesting way to look at it, because I've definitely fallen victim to that of actually, let's shift our focus here, and not necessarily thought about the trickle-on effect for the rest of the team and their idea of understanding, okay, that's our North Star, that's where we're now going.
That makes sense. And what would you say, so sort of speaking outside of the business, so in terms of, you know, work-life balance that everyone's always debating, does that even exist? Do you find that you are able to balance doing, like, managing this huge now company with life, or do you feel like what most founders are saying is that it doesn't really exist and you've sort of just got to put everything into it to reap the rewards in a while, I suppose?
Yeah, it's very Emma Greed, isn't it? But that idea of work-life balance, I do understand the kind of negative nature of that, because you are always failing if you're striving for that, because especially if you're a solo founder, it doesn't exist. And I think her concept of this work-life harmony is really, really powerful, because although right now, you know, I am very much focused on the business, the majority of my time, emotional resources going towards that. The harmony of, you know, making sure I do look after myself and keeping fit. I also think there is a moment that you do set yourself up for failure. I do not know how people see friends, see family, work on a business, grow a business, be a supportive leader, work out, eat healthy. I actually, if someone has the answer, tell me, because I definitely haven't found it. No. So I think just being a little bit kinder to ourselves and realizing that we are doing and going through a crazy, crazy experience that is taking so much of our emotional and physical resource, because we don't have the answers. And that is a really emotive process to go through, to kind of continuously discover, okay, what's the next best decision? So in a roundabout way, no, the balance doesn't exist.
No, it
but
doesn't exist.
I guess it is important, but
Yeah, it is important. I think just when you're so like laser focused on it though, it's like a drug addiction. I say to people, it's
I'm
like
addicted.
you want the next hit, and then when
Yeah.
you're not getting it, you're like on the floor and you're like, oh my God, when's it gonna come? And then you know it's coming. And then you
Yeah.
get it and you're like euphoric and it's amazing, and then it's like a constant up and down. But I think that's just, I mean, I get why people say it's important, because it is, and you've got to look after yourself as your best asset, because if you're gone, like the business is gone. But I do think that we're in a really unique position as like young founders, is that we haven't really got anyone to, I mean, we have mentors and things like that, but we've got to work out the answers for ourselves really. And I think that's like, in a way, the best bit for me is it's so hard, but just learning it all. And that's why you feel so much more proud of it, knowing you've worked out those problems for yourself.
Yeah.
So do you think you've been quite headstrong in like, I've got it, I'm focused, I'm on it? Or do you find that sometimes you can let, outside opinions and negativity and stuff get to you? And how do you deal with that, and opinions on the product and opinions on you? Because, personal branding is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
How have you found navigating that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think also on the subject of kind of balance and harmony, I have pretty much since I started the business, maybe 2 years in, had like personal therapy. And I do see that as almost, for me, a bare necessity of like, if I'm going to be the best founder and leader to my team, however I'm feeling personally, no matter what that is, can't infiltrate that leader figure. And obviously you almost have to have those two separate hats. Like Daisy, how she might react personally to a situation is very different to how Daisy, the founder, will react. And it's being able to kind of switch between them in the appropriate setting, because it's really inappropriate for me in a family or friendship setting to react as a founder. Like that is not how my friends want me to be there for them. I don't need to be the problem solver of my friends' problems. They just need me to sit there and listen to them and support them. So I have found that really, really powerful. And actually, if I think about it, when it comes to things like competition or, negative feedback, being able to have those separate hats of, okay, Daisy might feel really sad that this has happened, or that someone says that they don't like the serum. But actually, as a founder, your point of reason goes on there. You think, okay, we've sold, over 500,000 serums. There's going to be some people, ratio-wise, within that percentage that aren't going to like it. And actually, if I take that as a personal attack, that's going to affect how I'm going to lead the team to feel about our product. So that has to be a completely different conversation I have with myself. But also, I think it's important to give yourself that time and space, which is why I still, see my therapist to this day. And sometimes I sit there and think, nothing to talk to you about today, but that's okay. I've got that time and space to reflect. And so often when we're in that fast-paced environment, you never have that space to sit back and think, oh, actually, let's just like nurture Daisy the person for a second, because like she's not really been able to show her head this week because Daisy the founder's been leading.
I love that. I mean, I've never thought about it like that, because you do have two different sides to you. Like I'll make some decisions, or react in certain ways where it feels so like foreign to how me as a person would react. Like it can be not like emotionless, but I feel like I'd be really bubbly and welcoming, and or like a bit, I might cry, and I'm like, I can't do that in these certain situations, because you've got this team riding on you. They look to you as a leader. They want to know that you're strong and you're confident and you've got it together. So I do try and think of like, they are two separate people. And I think imagining that is really helpful. And I feel like I need to get a bit of therapy in there, because then you paid for it. You've got to be there. And then even if you've not got something, you just sat there.
Oh God, yeah. The number of times it comes around, I think, oh, I've paid for it this week, and I'm not feeling, I don't really want to get into that headspace of personal Daisy, but actually I don't think I've ever left a session feeling worse. So I do think it's really valuable. Not to say that everyone needs therapy. Even if it is, you're just really strict with that time. That's the problem I have. If I was, okay, that hour every week I'm going on a walk without my phone, I'm not strict enough with that to make sure that habit is set in stone. Whereas probably because I'm a people pleaser, if it's someone else's time, e.g. my therapist, obviously I'm going to respect that, and I'm not going to not show up. So maybe it's just we need to be a bit stricter with ourselves to actually, that is a set in stone, non-negotiable nothing can be booked up in that town.
Because I'm the same. I'm like, I keep saying, I'm like, I'll do it, and then I don't do it. And then I've got like massive to-do list, you know, that we've all got, where it's like, as a business owner, 1,000,001 things that we need to get done and don't actually do any of them. What has it been like in terms of support from friends and family with the business? Like, have you had amazing support? Has that been difficult to navigate? How have you found all of the outside of the business world?
Yeah, it's probably something I've not actually touched on or spoken about too much. My partner has actually played a really kind of pivotal role in the business. And I was listening to the episode with 6 Stories.
Yeah.
And just hearing about their relationship and dynamic. So I've been with my partner for, it'll be 10 years next year. So we got together, I think like you, quite young.
Yeah.
And a bit like you were saying, I don't know, there's often times I'm like, oh, we've only ever been together, but it's good. And like, we're both as motivated and as driven as each other. So that's an amazing thing to have. So he's always helped kind of in the background from the very early days. He's a very kind of finance solution kind of focused person, whereas I'm more creative, more brand led. So I've always had that kind of bounce board at home, which has been really, really helpful. You know, if I'm living in this creative space of opportunity, and then sometimes you just need that reality checker to think, okay, that's amazing within budget. Do we think this could be possible?
Because they're just so blunt. I feel like they just have a different way of thinking. Like,
Completely
like my
different.
partner's just like, if I'm stressing about something small, or he's just like, it's not that deep. Like, you'll sort it out. You're strong. You've got this.
Yeah.
Or he's so blunt. He'll just be like, why don't you just quit then? I don't want to quit. And then he's like, well,
The reverse
you know,
psychology.
and then that's what makes me get back on it, because he goes, just quit then if you're not happy. I'm like, I'm not quitting. And then I get like a fire in my belly to go again. So I do feel like you need that balance there of like someone that will just like tell it how it is.
Exactly.
Like, put you back into place.
No, and he's, you know, come more and more into the business, and he's actually, like full time within the business now, which is kind of crazy. I've never said that before, but
wow,
that's been a big shift for us this year, because prior to that, you know, he was helping me out at home. You know, that 6 to 10 p.m. work schedule was us sitting down and doing the finances and the P&Ls and running through everything. Whereas, it's nice and refreshing just to have that other person who is, not that the team isn't, but as motivated for the business to be as a success as I am. But yeah, also just has like my best interests at heart as well. Like he knows, it's just that other person looking out for you and saying like, I think you need 5 minutes now, and you think, actually, I wouldn't have given that for myself. You care about me. That is what I need. Perfect.
Yeah, and I think it's actually good working with family, because so sometimes you might have like my team members that I'm closer with, but sometimes they might not feel like they can say certain things to you, whereas I feel like family is just very, like, you shouldn't have said that, or you should have said that, or you've missed this, or you've missed that. And like you said, they've got your best interests at heart and they want you to do well. And then how's it been sort of like friend-wise support outside of it? Have you been lucky in that sense? I know a lot of founders talk about, you know, when you get to a certain point, there'll be like jealousy from friends, or people might not have your best interests at heart. Have you been quite lucky with that, or have you struggled with that?
I'd say I've been very lucky. I feel like I've got an amazing friendship group, and we are all so different. So I think that really helps.
Yeah.
I would say at the start, I didn't tell any of my friends when I started the business.
Wow.
And that was honestly until, I want to say, about a year in. It was quite a crazy amount of time. Obviously, COVID helped with that, because I didn't have to see anyone anyway. So I just had this kind of like dirty little secret that I was running on my side. But I remember it got to the point where we were spending so much on ads, and my friends were sending me screenshots like, are you the new social media manager for this brand? I'm so confused. I've never seen it before. And then I was like, I need to come clean here. Like, it's actually mine. And I don't know. I think there was an element of, okay, if it failed, like, I don't need anyone to know about it. But also for me, it was such a stark contrast to what I was doing before. That I think I felt a bit like everyone would be like, what are you doing? But you do quickly see the friends who are, oh, I'll do some content for you in the early days. You see the friends who are, oh, you've just dropped this product. I've just bought it because I'm so proud of you. Like, you notice those friends around you who are really triumph you. And I'm not saying everyone is going to be like that, but you're just more selective with, I guess, the people you want to have around you. I mean, you don't treat it like business, but I'm very much now, like, if a relationship isn't serving me.
We've got limited time, very limited time. Like, even now, you know, like, just things you could do when you were like a child, like see your grandparents every weekend. And so it's like, you just can't do the same things. It makes me so
guilty about that.
I know I do, because I'm like, or even like, you know, voice noting my mum and stuff. Like, it's so hard. So I feel like this year I've been quite cutthroat with, like, you know, that whole thing where someone's like, if you don't message them and they don't message you again, it was sort of never meant to be. And sometimes it's quite a harsh reality.
Yeah.
But I did have, with that chat with Lucy from Six Stories, she was saying about friendships, and that it's okay if your friends aren't, like, you know, liking all your posts. And because I think we do have, in this world of social media, like, if someone doesn't like our story or share our post, we do take it to heart so much at the start. And you're like, why are you not supporting my post, and why are you not supporting my business? But Lucy was sort of just like, you know, they've got their own lives to live and they're not on social media all the time. And I think it's the real life that counts the most. Like, I think it's okay if they're not on every post. Like, it's great. Obviously, some friends will be like that, but people have got their own lives to live, and we can't I could take everything to heart. And I feel like this year I've just been a bit more like, do you know what? Like, in real life, you're a great friend for me. We speak, they ask you questions. I think that counts more than anything else, really.
No, I completely agree. And also, to say to my friends, I would have no friends if that rule about texting back was true. So they're probably all like, Daisy. So that's definitely not true for me. But I think it's the same as she was saying, like, who can you pick up the phone to? Who's going to be there for you? And I think it's that also interesting concept of, like, personal branding. And I just think often that personal brand is associated with this social media persona. For me, my personal brand isn't this person sitting on Instagram. It's who is going to events and creating a name for themselves within the industry, and what does that name represent when people talk about you in a room when you're not there. I think narrowing that down to an Instagram post and then getting annoyed if your friends don't like or comment on it, I don't know. I think that is a damaging mindset to get into.
And we've got bigger fish to fry, sort of thing.
Quite
it's like, now you're like, whatever, like, it's fine. How have you found that? Because I know you obviously didn't set out with thinking, I want to start a personal brand, but I know, like, in the past few months, just from following you, you've put more into your personal brand. Like, what are your thoughts on, should business owners have a personal brand? What are the pros and cons of it? Like, where have you sat with that recently?
Yeah, I think it's really powerful. I was on a panel recently and it was like, does every founder need to be an influencer in 2026? And I was like, I think that's a really damaging mindset to also get into. It's not for everyone. It's a very exposing space. I felt very comfortable with it because I had a background in theatre and performing, and I love people. So I love communicating through people. And it felt very native for the brand to live through me. But equally, I think that's an unfair pressure to put on every single founder to exist in that way. Like, everyone's journey and story is going to be so different. And I know so many, I have to say, particularly male founder friends who don't put themselves out there and still have very successful businesses. So I don't think it is a necessity, but it is a very powerful tool. And like I say, for me, it very much sits above that, oh, I'm going to make sure I post on TikTok 7 times this week, which isn't sustainable for me.
Like, as well as running a business. It's like another business in itself, having a personal brand. I find it's so much work to maintain.
It is. And make sure you're kind of saying something revolutionary every time you pick up the phone. It's not reality, you know. Sometimes it is just, I've had an awful day. But equally, on the power of, like, friends and personal brands, I think I've built a lot of friendships within the industry now, and female founder friends, and I find them to be incredibly powerful relationships, because it's a unique experience that, you know, my home friends who I love so much haven't necessarily shared. So it's important to be able to kind of lean on different friends for different reasons. But yeah, also for me, it's very much about those connections I build within the industry and how I am being represented. Like, that to me is my personal brand. If I'm not in a room and someone says, oh, have you heard of Daisy from Glow For It? It's what people are saying about that conversation, not how many likes did I get on that Instagram post.
It's strategic. We need to, like, when I spoke to Grace Andrews, she was saying about, it's about strategy, and you're not just posting, you know, like, here's my cute business outfit of the day. Like, love that. But also it's like, why is personal brand is not a personal account. Like, it's a brand and it represents us, and we need to be really strategic with it. So if we talk about you a bit as a founder, what would you say your best attributes are and maybe your weaknesses are as a founder?
Oh, it's a good question. I would like to say generosity. I think and like to hope I'm a very generous person. And I don't mean that financially. I mean like with my time and with my energy and hopefully with my kindness. You know, I want to make sure that people would leave a conversation with me feeling supported. But on the flip side, I guess that can be kind of a slight negative. I very much feed relationships and I want people to feel a certain way about me. And that can be quite an exhausting place to be in, because you can't be that to everyone, especially when you lead a business and you have a team. I can't be that same person and level of support to every single person in my team. And that's something I've probably really learned this year. When you've got 3 people in the team, you can be that to them. You know, I've only at 12 now, but I definitely can't be that to 12. And, you know, hopefully in this time next year, I won't be able to be that to whatever number of people are in the business then. So that's probably a weakness. Big thing I'm working on, the people pleasing. I think I've got a lot better at it, but again, it's having those separate hats. You know, Daisy, the people pleaser, cannot run a business because I have to tell someone if I don't really like that design or if it's not quite right. They're still leading with kindness and making sure it's done in a fair way, but I can't just say yes to everything because that's not effective leadership. And
I think we've got to be, because I'm really, really similar, and my biggest learning this year is that if I want to scale the business and get to where I want to be, I have to be so comfortable with being disliked sometimes and having people not agree with me, or having, you know, you can have the team maybe not understand why I'm making certain decisions, but being so headstrong that you're like, I know I've made the right decision. You might not understand it now, but having that like future vision of what that looks like, I think that's been huge. And it's so hard when you're so by nature just like, yes, that's fine, and you know, no worries and everything.
That's fine, but I'll just go and work another 3 hours to make sure it's right. Like they're not growing, you're not growing. It's not helping anyone.
And it just hurts you more in the long term. What would you say this year has been the biggest learnings that you've taken on board?
Biggest learnings, I think as a business, we kind of launched into our first B2B opportunity, obviously with Boots this year, and it's an area within the business that's kind of really untapped for us and a huge opportunity for growth. You know, prior to that, we had no real B2B partners. So that has been a real area of opportunity, but also it is a whole different world, skill set, vocabulary. You know, I'd be in these meetings and they're using, have you got the CPRO2 over to us? And I'm thinking, yeah, I'll get that to you by tomorrow. So that's completely made up, by the way, so don't come from me. But that sort of world is very new. So that's been a big challenge. Growing the team. And also, like, the conversations are bigger now. You know, a decision we make isn't just impacting 2 people, it's impacting a lot more people, and it's going to require a lot more money. And, you know, if we launch a product, we can't launch with 1,000 units now because that wouldn't last us the week. We need to launch with a lot more stock. So it needs to be very carefully considered to make sure that that is exactly what our customer wants to be seeing next. So I think it's just, I know they speak about, you know, the one-way door and two-way door decisions, but the decisions in themselves feel a lot bigger.
So what would you say for people that are listening that want to be in your position, they want to have this like massive brand, that is the best advice you can give? And I always say to try and give that non-generic advice, because a lot of people say just start, or like life's too short. But what would you say like that you really want people to take on board if they are hoping to get to that sort of level?
I feel like maybe this is a little bit controversial. I think for me, it has to be led by passion. If I was going into a product, a category, an industry that I didn't actually have a personal passion for, I would really struggle. That's not to say people can't make incredible businesses in industries they're not passionate about. But on those hard days, making sure that there is value to the work you're doing. So for me, e.g., when I get a message from Megan, I think, oh God, 10 people have said that the lash serum isn't working for them, but Megan has sent me her transformation pics.
Yeah.
You know, for me personally, I find a lot of comfort in that, and that helps me really continue. And also to be able to be obsessed with the industry I'm in. I am obsessed with beauty and skincare and cosmetics. Like that industry, I could live and breathe it every single day. Everything I consume on LinkedIn, on TikTok is about that industry. And I think that is really powerful and an easy kind of in. If you already know the industry and you know the products within that space, it's easier to find those opportunities.
And it translates as well. I feel like people can tell when you're speaking about it. It's like, you know your stuff. And also you are your best case study. Like you've started it, it's worked for you. It's like an easy buy when the founder's that interested in it. And I suppose that's why personal brands are important, I would say. Is there anything at all that you would like to promote to our listeners today? Or like anything you've got coming up or anything you want to shout out while we've got you on the pod?
We've just launched a new product, which is our lash recharge, which is actually, this is probably a good opportunity because I think a lot of people are like, what is this new product? Essentially, I launched the lash growth serum 5 years ago to grow back my natural lashes. But often, like with the hair on our head, we don't necessarily think about all stages of that lash care, brow care. And actually, that's one of the things that inspired me with the lash serum, because we were putting so much money and care to the hair on our head, but no one was caring for their lashes and brows, which literally frame your entire face. So our lash serum is obviously for the root of the lashes to encourage that new growth coming through. But our new product, Lash Recharge, is almost like a treatment conditioner for the lash follicles. So you coat it through the follicles themselves to stimulate growth, because it's got growth properties within it, but also to add those conditioning and nourishment elements as well. So it's a product that's taken us a long time to develop. We've done a lot of kind of clinical trials and case studies. And in one of our most recent ones, after just 10 days, people in the trial saw a 19% increase in lash length and a 32% increase in lash thickness after just 10 days. So it's not just kind of a castor oil style product. It has genuinely got growth properties, and when you use it with the lash serum, it's going to propel the growth to the next level.
I loved the promo pictures as well for it. Was that fun to shoot?
Do you know what? I feel like it was the first campaign that I've really been able to be like, from initial concept to execution, so excited about every stage. And I really, you know, even the fact that it's like a little metallic tube, so it looks like a battery, and it's a different shape to our lash serum, and then having all of those recharge electrical elements.
It was so, I was just like, it was chef's kiss. It was
thank
stunning.
you.
I loved it. So thank you so much for joining me today, Daisy. Where can people follow you and Glow for It?
Well, TikTok, of course. At Glow for It Shop on TikTok and on Instagram. I'm Daisy May Kelly _ on Instagram as well.
Amazing, gorgeous. Thank you so much, Daisy.
Thanks for having me.